I'm a nutritionist, which means I try to study what you need to put in your mouth, and if you don't, you die. That's what a nutritionist is. If you don't eat about 45 nutrients every day, give or take, not that you have to get them every day, but if you're missing them, you get into trouble. What's the #1 missing nutrient in the American diet? We can debate. I put my money on omega-3s. We could say folic acid. You know, Sid Baker, the well-known nutrition MD, might say folic acid. But omega-3s are missing. And there's nothing more profound in nutrition than when you put something back that's missing. If you were driving around in your car with 3 tires on, and you were missing the right front tire, and that wheel thing was scraping on the ground, and I said, you know, you are. If I put a tire on your right front tire, you'd get better handling, better mileage. You say, Robert, how could one thing totally change the way my car works? This is quackery. You know what medicine in the United States for the past 200 years has hated? The idea that one thing can treat a lot of things. That's quackery, right? That can't, because they have the drug model of, you know, one thing does one thing. So I don't think medicine is ready to accept what omega-3 does. So it's going to depend on reps and educators to get the message out. Okay, so we're missing omega-3s. How long have omega-3 fatty acids been declared essential by our government scientists? Anybody know? Since September 2002, I think it was. And it's only alpha-linolenic acid, and it's 1.7 grams per day. So it's way ignored. Well, what happens when we're missing omega-3s? Let's talk about them. Let's talk about what fats are. And if you can't see the slides because I'm standing in front, you've got all of them printed out. Fatty acids in general used to be called vitamin F, which I think is a very useful thing that we've thrown away. I like it. Let's bring it back. Vitamin F. You say something's a vitamin, people, you have their attention, right? So I don't know how the Nordic Naturals people feel about this, but I think vitamin F is a very, very useful thing that we throw away. Vitamin H, biotin, you know, we used to have all these other letters. We had Harpo, Gummo, Zeppo, or Marx Brothers. Well, what do fats do? They provide energy, they cushion and protect organs. You know, there are people that have not enough fat on their body, and that's actually a disorder. It's very difficult for these people to sit comfortably in a chair. Maybe you don't know these people. Maybe you wish you were such a person. Believe me, you don't want to be this kind of a person. You need fat. It plays a lot of different roles. But what fat does that's really interesting is that it basically decides your heart and artery health, your brain health, your longevity, we're going to see according to animal studies. It's very powerful, the kind of fat you eat. And the misinformation the American citizen is being given is that we need to eat less fat, not that we need to eat a different kind of fat. My argument to you today is going to be that you need to eat a different kind of fat, not less fat. Less fat's not the answer. It's different fat. Because they're bad fats, quote unquote. And so they're bad fats, we go, no fats. That's where we are still, this idea of the food pyramid with use fats sparingly. No, use the right kind of fats. It's like, let's say you had a rude neighbor when you grew up. You go, people are bad. All people. No. Some people are wonderful. You might even fall in love with a person. Isn't it amazing? A perfect stranger is somebody you end up married to? How does that happen? That's a whole other story. It's another lecture I have. But the idea, there's good, there's bad. There's not just bad. So in America, we're post-puritanical intellectualism. We're like, we want to exercise our diet from fat. This is crazy. And as we'll see, this food pyramid is just the worst possible thing we could ever have done. I want to go to Washington, D.C. and do a hunger strike until they remove this. Get some friends of mine, go to Boston Harbor with old, Patriot hats on and dump the food pyramid into the Boston Harbor. Reject it because it's catastrophic. So people are looking for the fat-free foods, right? And what are these foods loaded with? They're loaded with the unnamed fat called sugar. Sugar raises bad cholesterol, triglycerides. You want to get diabetes, adult onset. Here's the formula. Don't exercise, eat too much, and there's plenty of sugar while you're at it. And stay away from omega-3 fats, by the way, because they're very, very good for you. Well, we have the fat-free craze going on. Fat-free, fat-free. You know, a patient in a hospital was once fed with an intravenous or gastric feeding tube, a formula that was completely fat-free. It's almost impossible to eat a fat-free diet because apples, vegetables, fruits, they have trace amounts of very good fats. But if you ate a fat-free diet that was perfectly fat-free, you would probably have the result that this patient in the hospital had. The patient died. Because you can't live without fat. You can live without carbohydrates, but you can't live without fat, you can't live without protein. They're essential. Fat and protein are essential. Okay, they're essential, But again, as Dr. Sigel wrote in this letter to the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, we're encouraging something called essential fatty acid insufficiency. We're missing essential fats, and that's a problem. We can't be missing stuff. We're missing stuff, we get a disease. In the case of the patient in the hospital, no fats, they died quickly. In the case of the average American, missing omega-3 fats, what's missing? I'm going to make this up right here. Missing omega-3 fatty acid syndrome. Big word. Missing omega-3 fatty acid syndrome. What would that look like? That would look like adult onset diabetes, heart disease, Alzheimer's. Your brain has omega-3 fats. Your heart requires omega-3 fats. So you pull these things out. My brother and I as a kid used to play this game. This is, I think now you can buy this in a box, but we invented it. You make this thing out of blocks, and you pull the block out, see if it still stands, right? See if the building stands. That's what we do in America. Take out the folic acid, take out the carnitine, take out the omega-3s, and that's when, you can't stand without it. You can't be healthy without omega-3s. And we have no one in America standing in Washington saying, get omega-3s. But they're saying, eat seafood. But what do we know about seafood? Seafood is a very difficult thing to give recommendations on. I teach seminars to doctors, and they ask me, Robert, what kind of seafood should we eat? And I usually run out of the room screaming when they do, because I don't know what to say. Which seafood, where, when, who knows? We need something that you can stick in a piece of fish that will tell you the mercury level. And then we go, okay, well, you can have that piece of fish. Because there's no way to know. There's no way to know. We don't know. Oh, but it's America. We're supposed to know. Well, we don't know. We just don't know. We don't know what seafood is safe. Does it go, oh, well, it looks good. Oh, great. Doesn't mean anything. Well, I don't smell any mercury. No, it's not going to do it. Well, I ate it and I was okay. No. Delayed effects. In the state of Colorado, I live in Nevada and New York City now. State of Colorado, where I used to live, there's a lot of arsenic and things in the lakes. And the macho guys are like, yeah, it's fine with me. Really? Well, it's not fine with your membranes and your brain. It might be fine with your testosterone. Dieting lowers omega-3 levels. As if they weren't low enough, people go on low-fat diets. People starve themselves. People eat carrots and Skittles and bagels. You know what people do with lose weight. They do crazy things. They do insane things. The Atkins diet actually is one of the more healthier. I'm not saying that everybody should do that, but at least it's meat and vegetables, right? That's some normal foods. But the Atkins diet is another case, the most important supplement to give people on the Atkins diet, hands down, omega-3 fats. Why? Because they're eating all these saturated fats without being partnered with omega-3 fats. And the interesting story, you're all taught saturated fats are bad. Actually, let's say that you're on a plane to California. You've won the National Sales Award. You're going to California. Going to Disney. And all of a sudden, you go to Disney World. All of a sudden, you're sitting in the back. The pilots all get sick. They have food poisoning. You look like such a relaxed guy. You got this medal on you. They figure you know what you're doing. They ask you to pilot the plane. You say, I can't pilot the plane. They say, well, just do your best. You look relaxed. Come on. So you crash land the plane at Watsonville International Airport. 3 people have broken legs. But basically, everything turns out okay. But then you get back home and there's a knock on the door, and it's lawyers, and you're being sued for piloting a jet aircraft without a license. You're like, hey, under the circumstances, I did a good job. Leave me alone. Well, that's exactly what happened to saturated fats. Saturated fats are sitting in the passenger compartment of the cell membrane, and the piloting omega-3 fats are missing because people are eating fat-free foods, fat-free entomins, fat-free dressings. They're not eating seafood because they're correctly scared about mercury, so they're not getting omega-3s. So saturated fats have to go fill the roles that omega-3s were supposed to fill, and they screw things up, and you get heart disease and things like that. But it's not their fault. In medicine, in nutrition, it's like, what do you blame? The presence of something or the absence of something? What's harder to see? The presence of something or the absence of something? It's harder to see the absence, isn't it? But the more you look around at all the research that weaves through all of the degenerative diseases, that's right, I said all. Bone health, osteoporosis, Alzheimer's disease, cancer, arthritis. No, these things aren't single-handedly going to be stopped because somebody takes an omega-3 supplement, please. But type 2 diabetes, in every instance, omega-3s were supposed to have been there. It's like missing parents, right? Like the body grows up on a molecular level with missing parents and needs therapy the rest of the life. What is the therapy? High-dose omega-3. I'm a nutritionist, which means I try to study what you need to put in your mouth, and if you don't, you die. That's what a nutritionist is. If you don't eat about 45 nutrients every day, give or take, not that you have to get them every day, but if you're missing them, you get into trouble. What's the #1 missing nutrient in the American diet? We can debate. I put my money on omega-3s. We could say folic acid. You know, Sid Baker, the well-known nutrition MD, might say folic acid. But omega-3s are missing. And there's nothing more profound in nutrition than when you put something back that's missing. If you were driving around in your car with 3 tires on, you were missing the right front tire, and that wheel thing was scraping on the ground, and I said, you know, you are. If I put a tire on your right front tire, you'd get better handling, better mileage. You say, Robert, how could one thing totally change the way my car works? This is quackery. You know what medicine